Hi guys, welcome to the next episode of Tech on Toast. And this week we're joined with Carl Jacobs, CEO and co-founder of apicbase. How are you, Carl?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
And where are you based, Carl? We're not in the same city today. Where are you?
No, I'm calling in from Antwerp in Belgium. It's one of the two interesting cities in Belgium to visit. Maybe also do Bruges, but Bruges, Ghent, and Antwerp are the cities you want to see in Belgium.
Yes. Well, I've been a few times recently. Actually, it's a beautiful place. And tell us a little bit about you. I mean, because we've got a website. We've read all about Apicbase. I can't say it. I'll edit that. apicbase. But tell us a bit about you. Where do you come from, and how did you end up in this position?
All right. Yeah. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of apicbase, and I'm actually working on apicbase in all of its forms since 2000 and I think 2014. But originally, apicbase started just as Epic. And we did something totally different. We actually invented a photo studio for the professional kitchen. And that was a hardware tool. So it was a small box which you put in the kitchen. And then you could take pictures of anything you want in your kitchen without the need of a professional photographer, without having to spend a lot of time on dressing and plating. You just plate the dish, you put it under the photo studio, and you took a nice picture of it. That's actually how it all started. And then from there on, we had a little software where you could, view those pictures. And then customers started buying the photo studio with the software. And they said, I have so beautiful pictures, but I want to, add ingredients that I have plated on these dishes. Can you make an ingredient tag or maybe something like that? So we've started building that. And then, from there on, the software became more and more elaborated in a sense, and we started building a cost module for recipes, and then we had allergens added to that, and before we knew it, we were actually building a PIM, product information management tool for recipes. And then in 2017, we kind of made a pivot. And I mean, you're not a startup if you don't make a pivot. So we kind of moved from hardware totally into software. So we kept on selling the studio quite a long time after that. But in 2017, we made the conscious decision to stop putting development time in the studio and move into the software. And from there on, we said, okay, we have this PIM and this product information management software, and how can we now move this into a tool that really solves essential issues in the kitchen? And we looked into that kitchen and we said, okay, what are the issues that these kitchens have? And then it turned out that there's a lot of issues, and
Yeah.
and that digitally kitchens were, and today in many cases still are, in a digital desert. So it was for us then, it became clear that we wanted to be that one-stop shop for the back of house and become the backbone, if you want, of a restaurant, because the whole operations, the whole way of making sure that every dish that you produce gets out in the same way with the same quality, that was uh, the the thing we wanted to solve. And then you look into that kitchen, you see a lot of processes. You see an inventory process, you see a procurement process, you see a food cost process, you see allergens, all of those things, starting with base ingredients that come in from your supplier all the way to the recipe that is produced and served to the customer. And to get those processes in an orderly way managed, that's actually what apicbase does today.
It's brilliant. And I think technology has always been brought along, and we were talking about it just off air before, that automation is actually what's going to keep coming and coming to help support the industry. But actually, the back of house and the kitchen areas, I spent 25 years. If you can't see my face, you can see from my career what I look like now. But I spent 25 years in the industry, and actually the kitchen is the heartbeat. It is where everything comes from, and it is what makes everything tick. And I found through manual entry and manual kind of approach to chefing, ingredient building, stock taking, whatever you want to name it, was always an issue. Is that and you've just mentioned it there, that's the real problems you focus on, isn't it? Or where you started focusing on. And you mentioned digital desert. I love that. I think that's really interesting because I think we're still there. If you could percentagize where you think, I know it's a bit of a general question, where you think kitchens are across, across the nation, where do you think we're at? Are we 10% there? Are we further?
Well, luckily, what we see is that in the last 5 years, things have changed in a very dramatic and rapid way. I mean, really, and this is no joke. When we were on fairs between, let's say, 2016, 2017, where we were contemplating on which way should we go, we asked chefs and we asked visitors to our stands, how about food costs? I mean, guys, what do you do with food costs? They literally laughed in your face. They said, what's that? So by now, luckily, all restaurants, I think, in the world are conscious of the fact that food cost and margin are, the essentials of making sure that your business is growing and is successful. So in that way, the mentality has changed. Um, I think in terms of percentages, it's very difficult to mention, but I think what's next is the the insight that businesses today, food businesses today, um, they're still in there for one main reason, and that's hospitality, and it's giving a good time to the customer. But they need to realize to get there, their operations need to change and shift a little bit. And of course, let's say 80% of your time you want to be in front of your customer. But in order to get those percentages and to make sure that you are, uh, delivering the service you want to do, you need to optimize and really, you know, m- pros, make sure that the processes in your kitchen are smooth. And to do that, you need assistance. I mean, you cannot, you, for the love of God, you cannot do that just on pen and paper and
Yeah.
on the back of your mind, So, and this change, this is what's happening now. People are understanding. Let's look into that order process. Let's look into that procurement process. Let's look into that inventory management process. Let's not play anymore with allergens. I mean, especially in the UK, you've had this dramatic case with Pret a Manger. I mean, it's serious business, guys, and you need to fix this. And to fix that, you can do this in two ways. You can keep on, trying and writing things down and ask staff to whatever, or you can really tackle the issue, and for that you need software.
And I remember back in the day that we used to have bin bags, right, where we'd measure the food waste. We'd like, we changed from black bin bags to clear bin bags. That was our automation process. That was the way as a visual, being able to pick up a bin bag at the end of the day and say to the chef, look, this is what you wasted today. But you're so right. And I think bringing up, the allergen case, which was horrific, for the wider industry, as well as obviously for Pret and for the poor family involved. But it's just, I think that the level of professionalism around the kitchen has been questioned over the past 10 years. I think the level of the way we run it as a business has been questioned over the last 10 years. And I think you're exactly right. And I think I suppose, cost of living is the latest of many crises that we faced, not just in hospitality, but everybody, all of us. What essentially do you think? So in terms of food waste, stock counting, what levers can they pull, I suppose, to kind of drive a bit more profit to the bottom line? Because I suppose, as you mentioned then, I think it's a very process driven place, the kitchen. And you're right. It's almost, it should be like a factory line. Chefs will be swearing at me all over the country right now, but it is, that process, because it's consistency, and that leads to predictability, which leads to more money on the bottom line. What levers do you think they can pull, or, how could you guys help them with that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's all about profitability, yeah? And in current situation, I think, more than ever in any hospitality business, bottom line becomes more and more important. And maybe before I jump into what apicbase can do for chefs, um, you mentioned that your your kitchen needs to be a production line, and that chefs will be swearing at you for saying that. And I've been saying that already quite a long time now as well. And I always make an analogy. I think software like apicbase, but any software basically, is not there to reduce the importance of a chef or to reduce their creativity. It is a bit like when the printing machine was invented. People were angry at the inventor of the printers because they thought less books would be written, because you know they th- they, they were used to writing it, the manuscripts. So instead of less books, there were never more books printed and published after the printing machine was invented. And of course, people feel attacked, or maybe a little bit, in a uncertain place when software comes there to replace them or to do something different. But I think software like apicbase, but again, not just apicbase, any software basically, will help you to get more creative, be more involved in the customer journey rather than less involved. The only thing apicbase does, and then I come to your question, is help you get insights in what you're doing. And that's step number one. I mean, as a chef, you could say, my gut feeling says I want to stop working with this simple dish because I'm very bored by it and I don't want to do it anymore. But in reality, this could be the driver of your bottom line. So if you don't know this, yeah, you make the worst mistake in your life, because your
Yeah.
restaurant is depending on this. So getting insights in what you're doing in your kitchen is step number one, getting the data. And then, of course, how do you get that data? Well, of course, that takes a few steps. And the first one is make sure that the things you do them in a centralized and standardized way. So make sure that your recipes are in the system so you can, everybody who works in your kitchen can do this recipe in the same fashion, because then every dish that gets out is the same quality, it's the same look, it's the same taste. That's what you want. Then, of course, when you have that, you can go into ordering. I mean, stop ordering through WhatsApp or small apps or fax or phone or email. Just use a centralized platform where you can add all your ingredients, maybe sometimes without pricing. Make sure that everything is in that system and start ordering in an orderly fashion, so that you don't order twice the same mozzarella because you have two chefs and the one comes in the morning and the other one is in the evening, and both see there is no mozzarella, so they both order the mozzarella. Things like that. Get it standardized, get it centralized, get it in a process. And then, of course, the end step is make sure that your inventory, etc., is in the most optimal way, so you don't have to waste. And your inventory in the beginning, you will say you threw away this and this and this, or there is uncontrolled waste on something. And then people are sometimes also a little bit, yeah, but the software tells me this, but uh, what do I now need to do? Of course, you still have to take action. Hence the importance of the chef. Hence the importance of the people. But at least you now know that you're every day wasting 5 kilograms of mushrooms. So stop ordering all of those mushrooms. And these insights you will never get if you do not register that. And that's the basis of having a software like apicbase. And when you do all of those things, the result will be that your food cost will go down and your margin will go up. And that's in the end a healthy bottom line. That's what we go for. That's really in our vision. That's the mission statement of apicbase is a healthy planet and a healthy bottom line.
I love that, and that's what we should all be going for. And I think it's really interesting because internally, having worked in restaurants and hotels and all sorts of my career, that we talk about food cost daily and wastage daily. We talk about inventory. It's a Monday morning hell. Most people listening were like nodding their head going, yeah, I can't stand that feeling in my stomach Sunday night counting ready for Monday. But externally, when you look at it from a marketing point of view, or maybe, in the world that I live in, I suppose, where I'm looking at what tech companies are talking about or what the industry is talking about, food cost, apart from allergens recently, is barely mentioned. I find because it's our second biggest cost base. And I think well, maybe electricity is now, but before that happened. But I think that it's really surprising where you guys are totally honed in on that subject, which for me is very operational. That you guys are in the mind of operators. Whereas, I find it interesting. Do you have an opinion on that? Why do you think we, as a supplier or as a bunch of suppliers, why do you think it's less of a focus?
Well, for one of those reasons, and it's not the only one, but one of the reasons why people are so much or sometimes not enough focused on food cost is because they use, in my opinion, the false argument of the quality of food. They
Right.
say, yeah, but I want to have the best salmon, and I have to pay for that. I think, of course, you do not want to serve bad salmon, but you want to look into a way of having the best salmon for the best price. And I think people need to realize that, and especially if you're I can, I can understand this discussion if you're a 3-star Michelin restaurant, and you're
Yeah.
asking 500 euros a covered, fine. But if you are in a high pace environment, you really need to get the price right, and of course the quality of the ingredient, guard the quality of the ingredient. But they need to be hand in hand. And nowadays, and even today, still people say, yeah, but quality trumps price. I think it's not a thing of trumping. It's a thing of making sure that they connect together and that you get the right salmon for the right price.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation. I think that quality always comes at the front of everything, right? In any restaurant business or any hospitality business, still guest experience and quality is at the forefront. But I think what we found out, I mean, obviously it was forced by the pandemic, but I think we knew before that, and I think we knew a long time before that, that really we're a business, and there's a business model or a success model you'd like to call, where you have correct margins, correct GPs, correct menus, correct service, and all that kind of stuff all the way through. And I
Exactly.
think we're just finding out actually that some of us had the wrong models, and that we need to change that very quickly, and we need some help, which I
Exactly.
think is where you guys fit in, right? Because you can automate some of those issues. I used to work. Have you ever heard of something called Seaboard in the States? I used to work for Hard Rock Cafe, and we had something called Seaboard, which was our inventory management system. We're going back a bit now, and we were petrified of it. And it was the most clunky, oh god, everything, all the data in it was all over the place, and changing one thing took forever. And I think that's where operators mindset live. And now you move into a SaaS era where there's really smart tech that's really intuitive, that is built for an operator, not built for an accountant, and
Exactly.
can actually make sense. And I think, do you see that reaction now, where when you're getting over that barrier of someone being resistant, that they're actually like, oh, this is useful?
Yeah, of course, we do bear the heritage of history. Yeah? If somebody worked with a clunky system, then that is for them inventory management or
Yeah.
procurement or anything like that. So for us, it's a matter of making sure, and that is a very complicated challenge. Is make sure that you have an ERP system, really a system that manages the resources of your business, but in a Netflix kind of usage way. And we are working on that, day and night. That is the strategic mission of apicbase in terms of product. It's making the best product out there in the most user friendly way. And of course, if you go into complicated situations where you have multiple storage locations and multiple people counting at the same time, of course, then you might need a tap or two more on your iPad, but still it's very user friendly and very intuitive to use, and that's the challenge we are trying to overcome on a daily basis.
And I think what's really interesting, right at the start of this chat, you were saying that actually where you started with the kitchen photos, you were actually driven, the innovation was driven by the operator, right? The operator was saying to you, we need this, we need that. And I think that's the best solution to hospitality, because when you've got operators driving change or innovation within a product, which isn't easy, right? Because you can't listen to everybody. But when you've got their feedback or their constant feedback or a loop of feedback coming into your product, I find it makes it so much more powerful, because then you can talk like them, right? And then they understand. And I'm the opposite side to you. I'm on the operator side, thinking, as long as I get it, as long as I can fit it into my little world and it doesn't cause me too much pain, and actually I can see a result at the end of it, then it makes sense. And I think that, yeah, I think for all of the tech suppliers, it's a challenge, that.
Yeah, and honestly, to give you a bit of insight, most people in hospitality business are not the most tech savvy people. We are not talking to developers or to colleagues in technology. So
Exactly.
so in that sense, we of course we have this educational piece to do, which we do with a lot of love, and we have a very nice customer success team that dedicates their days every day, day in, day out, to help customers understand the software. If there's mistakes or if there's anything, they can always reach out for a hand, and that's what we do. And okay, that's fine. I mean, we know that this sector needs this digitization wave, in a sense. It is coming, or it is happening as we speak. But we need to help them and be there so that we can help them along the way, and that they don't become risk averse, or they don't want to do the change because they think it's too much work, or it's too much hassle, or anything like that.
And I think one of the most exciting things about tech actually is when you buy something or you pay on a SaaS payment, that you actually can see the ROI on it. You can actually see the return on investment, because you're using it properly or you're landing it properly. Because sometimes in the past, I know of brands and chains that have bought something and then said, oh, it doesn't work. We don't get the return on it. It doesn't. But it's really about that. You've got to put that effort in, haven't you, at the start, to really land it, really engage your troops and look, use this, guys. And we're going to do, we'll be able to kind of redeploy some of that saving into labor or into refurbishment or into menu development or whatever it might be. But that key of really kind of getting that engagement in the early days is, I imagine, huge for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, getting the software up and running is an important part of the success of the partnership. But on that hand, I can tell you that, with a SaaS software, whether or not it's apicbase, usually onboardings and getting it installed is much more is light years faster than trying to fit this into a SAP kind of environment, or one of the big, dinosaur techs, we call them. I mean, that's the brilliant part of SaaS. It's user friendly, easy to implement. Of course, it's not one day implementation. I mean, you're talking about inventorizing your whole, digitizing your whole inventory. Sorry, so of course that takes a bit of time, but for a reasonable organization, let's say 15, 20 outlets, you could have this going in 3 months' time, which is very fast if you compare that to, previous years of implementation and modification to your own packages
Well,
and
and the data you're getting very quickly, right, is powerful. It's so powerful to get that insight from what your estate
exactly.
looks like from a central franchisee type level, where you can see everything very quickly, is so powerful. Right. I've got a question for you, because I like to ask everybody this. If we could start a restaurant chain from scratch tomorrow, what automation or cost saving tools would you put in from the start? Or what would you, so if someone's listening, they've got one site and they're like, I'm going to open 2, 3, 4 more, but what should my tech stack look like? Obviously, I can imagine one product that might be in it.
Well, I will give you a very nuanced answer on that. First of all, very important to know is what is the end goal? What is the end game of what you're doing? I mean, is growth and scaling, scalability, is this what you're working for? And if the answer is yes, then of course apicbase will be in the picture. If you say no, I just want to have two outlets. One is my high end restaurant, and the second one is like a fast-paced restaurant, but then it's fine for me, then I would consider not going for a tool like apicbase, but just make sure that you do this in Excel or in anything ready made in the market, something else. But if scaling is your thing, and I think that's your question, Chris,
Yes,
is
yes. Scaling is my
that,
thing.
yes. So if scaling is your thing, and if you want to go for growth, I think there's a few things that you need to implement. And for us, we kind of developed a diamond in a diamond shape for that. The first thing you need to have is a point of sales. And I think point of sales today is a broad a container kind of word. It can also be a deliverect kind of thing if you're going for dark kitchen or host kitchen, but point of sales. And if you go for a point of sales, go for a cloud-based point of sales with an API connectivity, because those are the ones that can help you scale. The second thing is you need a good personnel planning tool. Plan Day, Strobo. There's plenty on the market. I mean, it's a red ocean. There's a lot of opportunity there to look for the best solution for your business. But personnel planning is extremely important, because this tool will make sure that you have the right people at the right time and that you can pay them. So that is the second tool. The third tool is your accounting tool. I mean, all of your invoices need to be paid, and you need to be able to send an invoice if you're in, of course, in a dining restaurant, and it's less invoice based, but still you need a good accounting system. And the fourth one is, of course, making sure that your food and beverage is managed in the orderly fashion. And of course, in that case, I would only suggest you one, and that's apicbase. But I might be a little bit um, biased in this case.
You're allowed to
But
be. You're allowed to be.
thank you. But it is about registering sales, making sure you have the right people, making sure you can pay and send invoices, and making sure that your resources, your food and beverage, are managed in the right way. And these four are your core systems in your business. And then from those four cores, you can still, build and bolt on things. For example, in the point of sales area, you can have a loyalty kind of system that can be built upon it if the point of sales doesn't offer it, or you can have the takeaway delivery kind of software that's connected. In the personnel planning tool, you can go farther with personnel management, no, not management, but assessment
HR. Yeah.
tools.
Yeah.
So things like that, they can be bolt on the four core modules, but these are the ones you want to have installed, and they need to be working together. So you need to be able to send data between those. So API driven is the bottom line.
What a great answer. Honestly, I've asked that a lot, and that's probably the best answer I've had. Just really simple. And I think it should be simple. And I think that's probably when we were talking before about education, that actually it can be really simple. I suppose the problem is when you get into a world, you've got 7 or 8 different things you've bought over the years. You've got changed operations directors or changed CEO, whatever it might be, and you end up with this bit of a legacy tech situation. But I think, yeah, simplicity is absolutely the key to make sure that you, because if you understand it, your team will. It's that simple. Which was a brilliant answer. Thank you very much. And I suppose we're looking at 2023, down the barrel of 2023 coming up, which we'll all be happy to see the back of 2022 in various ways, I'm sure. What's exciting for you next year? I know we've got a lot of challenges coming up, but what excites you about the industry for next year?
Yeah, of course, I'm not a visionary, but I have a kind of an idea about 2023. I think 2023 will be a very exciting year for hospitality. Of course, there is the challenge of gas prices and electricity prices. I understand that, and that's a challenge that we need to overcome. But I think, in general, I think, and it's a bit of a daunting message maybe, but there's a lot of uh, people that go in businesses. We are a little bit in a down cycle there. So I think the problem of having people working in food businesses will uh, it won't be resolved overnight, but it will get less heated in a sense. I think more people will be back available to work in hospitality businesses, and once you can resolve that, I think you will be able to also implement the processes that you've been looking at to implement, but you can't because you just have not the right staff, things like that. And in terms of business, I think um, luxury hospitality will always thrive. I think that there's no worry there. Um, what I think is hospitality will become much more expensive, I think having a hamburger for 25 euros or 25 pounds won't be an exception anymore. Of course, you will have French fries and a bit of salad, but still, it's now we think $25 or 25 euros or 25 pounds. It's all the same. It's very expensive, but I think that will be the case. So the the quality of the food will need to be very high, um, and the low end restaurants, they will have problems getting into the into in 2023 because they won't be able to up their prices because the quality is not good. But if you're a good quality chain, you will be able to up your prices, and you will be able to cover your costs. And with the right tools, you can also optimize the back of house.
Yeah, and I think it's a great answer. Again, I think that the mid market, or the, I suppose, low to mid market, will get squeezed because the nature of the cost base going up. They have to, as you say, match that to survive, and that's going to be a challenge based on what you're delivering on the
Exactly.
plate and through your people, right? So, yeah, it
For
becomes a
for
good
me, the
challenge.
mid market will maybe be able to move up market. So that there is a hole in the, let's say, in the chained restaurant where you can, move up market, have a bit of an Ivy collection kind of thing, where
Yeah.
you upper market, and you move into that space. You become more expensive, but people will be paying for that because they will want to have the experience.
I think that's key. And I went out for dinner yesterday with my wife and a couple, and we paid. I can't remember what it was. It was the first time in ages I've had a mid market meal and looked at my bill and went, wow, and kind of, we didn't have a lot. I was just thinking, God, that's expensive. So, and
Yes,
that's
yes,
the very rare thing for me. I never really look at the bill. I just enjoy it and pay. So I think that will be an experience for a lot of people this year. So yes, it's a challenge to the
absolutely.
industry. And obviously, you've talked a bit about your product, and there's loads more to talk about with apicbase. How do people get hold of you? Or how do people find you if they need to get in touch?
Yeah, the best way is to go to our website. It's on apicbase.com. And actually, for everybody. It's interesting visit, I think, because we have been consistently and constantly since 2019 investing a lot of our resources in free advice, blog posts. Also Excel templates, things like that. So everybody who is interested in automating the back of house should pay us a visit on our website. And those who think that apicbase might be the solution, of course, just reach out, send us an email, and or fill in the form on the website, and we will be in touch in a few minutes.
Perfect. And also, I have to mention, you're not just doing that, Carl. You're now a podcast host as well. So tell us a little bit about your podcast, which I've been backing this for ages for lots of brands, because I think it's a really nice way of consuming content for people. So tell us a little bit about your new hosting role.
Yeah, since a few weeks, I'm the host of the Food Service Groucho, and this podcast is all about making sure that people that have done the scaling game and that are experts in the industry, that we ask them how they did it, and that people can learn from this, and that we get a better industry at large. And again, we rarely mention the word epic base. I mean, I think it's a really important that we, as an industry, give the most possible insights on how to scale your business, and that's what the podcast is about. And we have planned plenty of podcasts in the future. By now, there is the first one was
Yes.
just released, and I think beginning of January the second one, but we will up the pace in the next year. That's one of the key strategies for us in the next year.
And you can't see Carl; he's actually got better kit than me already, which is quite disappointing for me. If you get the video of this, you can see him. He's all set up. He looks the part. So,
If we go for it, we go for it in the best possible way.
and rightly so, rightly so. Look, Carl, thanks very much. It's been lovely getting you on, and obviously we've been trying to do that for a while, but it's finally lovely to speak to you. And have a lovely Christmas as we're recording this now, and we shall see
You
you in the
too.
new year.
See you in the new year. Bye bye.